So it's not the people problem because they are only working to the best of that process. And so I always caution people, be careful that you're not blaming people. Go and look at the process first, lay eyes on it, understand what it's saying, where's the breakdowns in it, where's the bottlenecks, where's the inefficiencies. Use data to, validate all of those causes, and that's the other thing. A lot of people go chasing this, problem solving.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited. As always, we have an amazing guest for you. And by all means, you know how I met Michelle. It's the power of networking. We know somebody that knows somebody and says, oh my gosh, you have to get to know someone. And so here's the deal. I have Michelle that I want to bring on. I want to tell her story. I want her to tell you about how she got there. And I want to hear the amazing projects that she's working on and the enlightenment she brings to her clients because she's doing some really powerful work. So with that, I want you guys to be introduced to Michelle. She is going to be hanging out with us today. So with that, could you do me the honor and tell me a little bit about what it is that you are doing right now and bring us up to speed?
Yeah. So what I do right now is I help businesses become more operationally efficient. And there's 3 areas that I see businesses, clients suffering in. And that is one around strategy alignment. And the second one is around systems and processes. And the third one is around using data for driving decisions. So there's usually a lack of one, but most often all 3 of those areas that really creates, operational chaos in their business. So that is what I work on now.
Man, that's incredible. This is an integral part of something that somebody more than likely needs in their company. But this isn't something that I know is a college degree that you can get right out the gate. Tell us, how did you get there? And where are you from?
So I am originally from Southern California, but I currently live in Montana. I'm about 40 minutes south of Glacier National Park. So it's definitely God's country up here. I love it. I do not miss the 91 freeway traffic in California at all.
No,
Like our traffic consists of, farm equipment and things like
right?
that. So it took a minute
Wildlife.
to get acclimated to. Yeah. So how did I get here? Yeah. There actually is a degree that you can get in this sort of work. It's it's industrial engineering. However, that was not the path that I took. So I was offered a administrative fellowship with one of the largest healthcare organizations in the United States. And so I was going down that pathway, and the director at the time, she had asked me, what is there a project that you are interested in doing in your fellowship? And I said, I really didn't know. And at that time, this organization was starting to deploy lean principles of lean and Lean Six Sigma and things like that. And so she had asked me, she said, are you interested in maybe being part of the inpatient discharge team? I said, yeah, that actually sounds pretty good because my background's physical therapy. So clinically, I'm used to, solving problems. And so this sounded really good. And I was looking for a way into, I call it the dark side, into administration, because I thought it would probably be good to have a backup because physical therapy is very demanding.
Right.
And when I get to be 50 or 60 years old, like, I don't know, am I going to make it that long? My body is going to make it, so I was trying to find, something to get over in administration. So that's actually how I started out. And then they started creating departments throughout the healthcare system. And I started off as a data analyst. Then I took the director's job. And then I ended up taking a senior director's job over the Southern California market. So it was an interesting journey to, going through that flow and learning about it. And then I had gotten, during that time, advanced certifications in Lean Six Sigma. I'm actually a master black belt. And I had graduated with my MBA and an emphasis in finance. And I woke up one day and I said, I think I'm going to go start my own company. And everybody thought I was absolutely nuts, which I may have been. But it's 11 years later, and I can't really say it was a bad decision because I've met some of the most amazing people and I've worked with some of the most like prestigious firms, and just really, I mean, we have local, national recognition for the work that we've done in healthcare. And so I would not have been afforded that opportunity if I had stayed in that position, because anybody that's come out of the corporate world, that your wings are kind of clipped, right? You have to play within their sandbox and things like that. And I was always kind of known as a maverick.
Yeah.
But it also got us a lot of awards and stuff. And so that's kind of how I just woke up one day and I said, I think I could do this on my own. And so that's what I did.
Well, you're going to get the backlash because it's hard to be an entrepreneur. And there's just a lot, or the majority of people that are so much more comfortable in a W-2 position is what we call it here in the States, right? Like just having somebody consistently provide for you instead of you going out and doing your own thing and deciding your own rules and figuring out that life. Man, that's awesome. Tell me more about the Six Sigma.
Yeah, so it actually is a business process improvement methodology that, basically I always start organizations out with lean because it's very simple. A Six Sigma is very statistical based. So it's a very mature and robust system after you get through deploying lean. But lean is very simple and easy to teach people. And it, like I said, it's a business process improvement methodology, and it gives you tools and frameworks to actually understand the problem and quit treating the symptoms and treat the real root cause, so that you're not going around constantly putting out that same fire day in and day out, which I see a lot of executives doing that because they're just treating the symptoms. And again, going back to not using data to drive decisions, they're hoping for the best, that they're solving the right problem and that their solution is the right one. But oftentimes when they don't have those tools and frameworks and they're not using data, they miss the mark. And so that same fire, when I teach, I talk about whack-a-mole. If anybody remembers that game,
Right.
it pops up here, you whack it down, it's over there. Yeah. And so that's how a lot of organizations are running, and their executives are running the same way, and they're being pulled away from what their actual jobs are as visionaries, to put out fires all the time. And so they can't work on strategic growth. And so they end up hitting a wall. Either they grew too fast or they've hit a wall on their ceiling of growth. And it's usually because they have not set up systems and processes to accommodate that growth that's coming in. So, yeah.
What does it look like for the right party that comes to you? Is it like the director of HR or the CEO? Like, how does someone decide, wow, we need help, and they're seeking you out? Like, who's the person that actually makes the phone call to you?
Yeah, that's great. And usually I tell people that I am usually the last stop on the bus line, because when executives get to me, it's because there's a huge dumpster fire. They're losing revenue, they're losing customers, regulatory compliance, especially in healthcare. There's some sort of triggering event and they realize, yeah, we don't have this. We need to get help. Usually who interfaces with me are CEOs, COOs, physicians. I can't really say managers or directors because they're not decision makers and they're not feeling the pain as that executive suite is feeling, because especially if they have a board or if they're, my last contract was a government contract. So, they're held accountable to different standards, because they're taking taxpayer money. And so, those are usually the type of people that reach out to me when there's a triggering event, and then they realize that they don't have this and they need help.
Wow. This is so just crazy how you fell from this into this into this and then took the leap of faith to get here. Tell us a little bit about, because you don't just make this decision willy-nilly, right? Like, what's your driving force and why is this so important to you?
Yeah. Well, coming out of healthcare, I have a passion for healthcare. I've been in healthcare for over 25 years. doing this type of work. I've been in healthcare for over 14 years doing it. And for me, it was all about the patient experience, right? Because I think in healthcare, and I've worked in lots of other industries too, but that's kind of where I, cut my teeth was in that. And so the driving passion behind that was, how can we make healthcare better in the United States and have a good experience for the patient? Because back in Florence Nightingale days, it was all about the patient. And then through the introduction of technology and regulatory compliance and all these other things, we kind of lost sight of the patient, and it just became, doing task work, giving meds, passing pills, documentation. And, an interesting statistic, 75% of a nurse's 12-hour shift is spent in the EHR documenting. So that doesn't leave a lot of time for patient care. And if you've ever been a patient in the hospital, like, you feel that, right? And so when I was still with this organization as the director of the department, I got a phone call from my physician one day, and he told me I needed to come to the emergency room. And I said, what for? And I have a congenital heart disorder, so I have to have CT scans like every couple of years, just make sure it's not growing, everything's cool. And he said, you have a pulmonary embolism. Well, I had been seeing physicians because I was running 5 miles a day, and I couldn't, by the end of this, I couldn't even get from my car into my office without stopping like 100 times. And they diagnosed me with asthma. I kept saying it's not asthma, it's something else. And so anyhow, long story short, turns out I had pulmonary embolism, and I was admitted to the hospital. And because of my congenital heart condition, I actually have a sac that is growing off of the pericardium. And so they said that they could start me on treatment, but the risk is that I could bleed out into that, and it would burst and I would die. Or we could not treat the pulmonary embolism and it could dislodge and I'll die. So that was my introduction into the emergency room. And I said, well, we got to try and save my life. So we started treatment, and, I was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks, and, it was just one thing after another. And I was connected to heparin, IV heparin, because that's one of the treatment protocols that they do for acute pulmonary embolisms. And I had got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and my nurse had disconnected me from the IV, and so I could go to the bathroom without the pole. And I got back in bed and I called for her. I guess I fell asleep or something, but she never connected me back to the hep drip. And so I went almost 18 hours without heparin, and that was pretty scary. And of course, the doctors were upset, and everybody was upset and everything. So from that standpoint on, I, from being on the patient side and seeing the errors that happen, it just became a driving force that we have to do better. And right. So when I went back to work, I stayed for probably about 6 or 8 months more. And then I ended up making the decision to start my own company. The scope went from, trying to make healthcare better through error reduction and just helping the patient feel like they're not the patient in bed A in room 302, that they actually had a family and they're a person, right? So it went to looking at the broader landscape of things, and that this problem really lies in every single business, from manufacturing to service-based organizations, everything in between. And so now my mission is, because I really believe that God gave me these gifts of leadership and teaching and the eye to be able to see where problems are occurring, so now I am on a mission to help businesses. I primarily work with service-based businesses. So think about, physicians, dentists, attorneys, CPA firms, anything that's service-based that's not producing a product, is to help them, build up their businesses so that they're profitable, so that they can provide for their family and then give back to the community if that's what they so choose. And being operationally efficient is definitely a way that you can do that, because you can have the best of ideas. But again, like I said, when you start scaling, you hit that wall. and now you can't go any further, right? And it's because of the broken systems or lack of systems and processes. So
Right.
that's my mission now. That's my mission now.
Man, that's an incredible story of you having this health issue that's led to a lot of these whys that are blossomed into you being able to help so many more than just your own industry that you kind of started in. And health 100% right now, like the surgery was a success or the treatment was a success for everything.
Yeah. They were
Gosh.
able to dissolve the pulmonary embolism. I still have the congenital heart disorder, but that's I'm not doing surgery for that. Not interested. I'm just going to keep going.
There you go, right? Stay
Yeah.
healthy and all this like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
man, that is so much of a fun story to be able to hear where you've come from, being able to do all this. There is a moment when people are thinking to themselves watching this, like, wow, I I'm the perfect candidate for this. Is there a better identifier of someone's like, do you do startups or people that are already kind of in the middle of the thick of it, or like certain minimum criteria that, or should just anybody who's watching this is thinking like, I fit your bucket. Let's go ahead and reach out for me to send people your way that absolutely need to meet someone like you in their world to help them identify all these things and break through these barriers that you're identifying with them.
Yeah, that's a great question. Generally, I work with 6 and 7, 8-figure service-based businesses. However, I'm heavily connected, and just because I may not work with that particular business type does not mean I can't get you to the right door of the person that can. I have people that work in pharmaceutical. I have people that work in manufacturing. I have people all over the place I'm connected to that also own their own businesses, so if somebody is in that seat and they're feeling the pain of this, because it is very painful, there's a cascading pain that happens to this. It's not just your business. And if you think about, the founder or the executive, when you leave the office at the end of the day, it just doesn't stay in the office. It comes with you home,
Yeah.
and your kids are affected by this. Your spouse is affected by this because you have this constant tape running in the background that, can we swear on here?
My kid's not
Like,
listening. Go ahead.
oh, you're having an oh shit moment and you're
Yeah, right.
bringing that home, and it will affect your health too. I can't tell you how many executives that
Right.
I have worked with that have high blood pressure. They're on the verge of a heart attack or they've had a heart attack,
Yeah.
some sort of thing. And that type of stress can be managed, but it cascades through all different areas of your life. And I always tell the founders and CEOs that I work with, I'm like, look, you can fix this now, or you can allow this to continue to unravel and you will lose your business either in a divorce or
Right.
you will lose it to the board because you had a heart attack or a stroke and you are now unfit to run the
Right.
company. So either way, you've got 3 pathways here, because the end is not good. The end is not good if you keep rolling like that.
Oh, my dear. You're right. Like whenever you have stress, it manifests itself usually in health problems, and that health problems could cause XYZ.
Yeah.
Oh, my dear. Okay. So there is a major point that people are reaching right now, and they're thinking, I need to know you. Like they need to find you. What is going to be the best point of contact? Like, how do you want our audience to follow you, your website, and all the websites that we'll link down below? But what are those that you want to tell us to find you the best one?
Yeah. So I am active on social media. LinkedIn is my preferred drug of social media, I guess. So you can connect with me on there under Michelle Kimbro. You can go to my website, michellekimbro.com. Shoot me an email. It's michelle@michellekimbro.com. Lots of ways to get a hold of me. You can send me a direct message on LinkedIn. So yeah, those are my preferred ways.
Well, that's awesome. There is going to be so much benefit, like my audience, you guys listening right now, that if you're sensing that you're in this spot, or even you have a friend or a colleague or whatever, like uppers that are like, oh my gosh, they're kind of in this spot. Friends don't let other friends struggle, right? Like if it's you or if it's your friend or another CEO, you now have a resource at your fingertips that you got to hear from Michelle out of her mouth, that she is going to be the right person. And if not the directly right person, the next point of contact for us to get you the help that you would need from your business. I am so appreciative of your time that you're able to spend with us and tell us your journey and your heart. What would you like to leave with our audience? So that way, like a tip or a trick, something that you like to jumpstart with your clients right away, or just your favorite trick that you like to use.
There's like so many in my bag.
Or even like your favorite one-liner, because I have, my favorite book, my favorite thing, my favorite piece of advice I give to somebody.
Yeah. So when I teach, and I've taught over 2,000 people, the same frameworks and methodology that, we talked about here today, I like to tell people that it's a process problem and not a people problem. And a lot of times people, leaders will go to the employee and write them up, or heavens forbid, fire them, or, counsel them if they're not performing well. But 85% of your opportunity lies within the process. And your employees are only working to their highest capability of that process as it runs. So if it is a broken process, if it's an antiquated process, and antiquated meaning that, we bring in software and technology all the time, and sometimes that makes our processes outdated. So it's not the people problem, because they are only working to the best of that process. And so I always caution people, be careful that you're not blaming people. Go and look at the process first, lay eyes on it, understand what it's saying, where's the breakdowns in it, where's the bottlenecks, where's the inefficiencies, use data to, validate all of those causes, and that's the other thing. A lot of people go chasing this, problem solving, and it sometimes they don't even use data around it. And it may have just been one person's perception. And now you're dumping all of these resources and time into solving a one-off event. And I think that's where leveraging somebody like me, we can say, nope, hold up, let's go look at this over here and see what it's saying, so that we can optimize our resources as we're going through business process improvement. So yeah, that would be my one tip. Look at the process first
tip.
versus the people, and in my experience, over a decade of doing this type of work, very, very seldom after you clean up a process and get it, efficient and everybody trained on it, is it a people problem. I've actually seen the opposite. I have seen people that have been written up so many times, they're literally 1 foot out of the door, and we have empowered them in, giving them the tools and the frameworks, and empowered them on how they improve their work. And they've turned around. And I've seen these people actually get promoted. And I've had directors come to me and say, what did you do to this person? I said, I didn't do anything. We just empowered them in doing their work. And they rose. Awesome. They rose.
Right. They were given better everything all around.
Yeah.
It is so exciting to hear the things that you're able to take with these companies and improve so many things. You guys heard it from us here. I want you to reach out to Michelle, because she is going to amp up your productivity. She's going to fix the leaky flaws of your company to help you soar past those ceilings that maybe you didn't even know you were facing right now. So thank you guys for coming and viewing everything. Thank you, Michelle, for your time. You know where to reach out to her. And we're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you.